Addiction impacts countless lives, from individuals to their families and communities. For those struggling with opioid use disorder, medication for addiction treatment, or MAT, is a proven pathway to recovery and hope. In this video, we explore the transformative power of MAT programs in correctional facilities and beyond, hearing directly from experts, caregivers, and people with lived experience. Together, they share how these medications save lives and reduce recidivism.
There's these three medications that already have a great deal of evidence to be really effective for people that have an opioid use disorder. So there's methadone, buprenorphine, also known as Suboxone, extended release naltrexone, also known as Vivitrol. And these three medications we know are really helpful for people with an opioid use disorder. And we also know that a large percentage of people that are incarcerated have an opioid use disorder.
Methadone is a full opioid agonist that attaches to the opioid receptors in the brain. Methadone reduces cravings and controls withdrawal symptoms. It is administered as a liquid or a tablet. Methadone can only be dispensed by registered opioid treatment programs. Buprenorphine is a partial opioid agonist. It attaches to the opioid receptors in the brain, but it doesn't fully activate them. Buprenorphine reduces cravings and controls withdrawal symptoms. Buprenorphine can be prescribed by any qualified clinician, and it is administered orally as a tablet or a buccal film, or as an extended-release injection. Buprenorphine can be taken at home daily or administered by a clinician as a long-acting injection. Naltrexone, extended-release naltrexone, also known as Vivitrol, is an opioid antagonist, meaning it blocks opioid receptors in the brain, so it blocks the rewarding effects of opioids in the body and reduces cravings. However, it doesn't help to reduce withdrawal symptoms. Naltrexone can be prescribed and administered by any qualified clinician as a long-acting injection.
We know that people that have substance use disorders are much more likely to be reincarcerated, so there's a high level of recidivism for them to returning to these environments, generally because of acquisitive crimes that are related to their substance use. And we also know that people who have an opioid use disorder are really high risk of overdose as soon as they are released from a correctional environment.
It took some folks in the community reaching out to the sheriff, explaining to him about the dangers of folks who battle addiction, come to jail, dry out, so to speak, get released, and those are the folks that are overdosing, dying.
Always wanting to make sure that people were aware of, overdose risk, what that looked like when you left jail. So, with tolerance and, potency, drug potency, there was always a huge risk for people leaving, post-incarceration.
Now, obviously, this was new to us. So when I have somebody in the community tell me or tell us we're going to start passing out Suboxone in the jail, which is contraband and something that, we find when we're looking and inmates are trying to sneak it in, and now you're going to tell me I'm going to pass it out to people? Obviously, that didn't register with us. And again, how wrong we were about that. And I, once again, thought the people who were proposing this to me were insane because there's no way this can work. We're in jail. We're in a maximum security jail. And how wrong I was. We had unbelievable success in both of those units.
But one thing that I really love about the MAT is that, I've had friends come into jails and get sober, and they would leave jail sober, and they would use and they would die. And if you were able to continue to use Suboxone throughout the time that you're in jail, and then have the kind of the advocation for you to get into treatment and being, steered in that direction, it really is a life-saving thing.
To help prevent overdose for the patients. So it's really important that when they leave here, they're on that medication so they don't have the overdose when they leave. The chance of overdose is significantly higher when they get released from custody. Typically, people go back to using the same amount of heroin or other opiates when they get released, and taking the buprenorphine, the Suboxone, it helps them prevent overdose, decreases their cravings, decreases their drug dreams, and the withdrawal symptoms that they have when they stop using any opiates also.
By directly talking to the people who were enrolled in the program, they found that they were feeling much better. They felt that they were functional, they were more hopeful about the future, they were less scared of being released, and people were scared of being released because of the risk of overdose.
To realize that addiction is just like diabetes, heart disease, anything we go to a regular doctor for, it's just like anything else. Overcoming stigma is a national issue. We need to remember that these are people dealing with something awful. To heck with stigma.
Having the methadone and being able to utilize the program to help you not abuse drugs is huge. So it saved my life. The methadone program, is the best thing that is out there for me to help me have sobriety, because without it, I would be goner time to look past it. I'm ready to put everything in the past, and that's what I'm working on. It's going to be my new way of life and thinking, because it has to be. There cannot be any other way.
I got my tonsils out. That's when my addiction started. It became pills, it quickly became heroin, and I got arrested for the first time. And that's when I went to jail for the first time, and I discovered what being sick was like. I got on Suboxone, and I've been on Suboxone now for about 8 years. I can say without a doubt that had I not been on Suboxone for the last 8 years, I probably wouldn't be sitting in front of you right now. I have no doubt in my mind that opiates or fentanyl or heroin would have killed me. Yeah. I'm very grateful for MATs. I'm very grateful for Suboxone. I haven't used opiates or heroin or anything in 8 years because I've been on that. So I'm very grateful for it. When I go places and I have to give people my list of medications, I start with that one. It's just a part of my medication list now, and I need it. It's just become a part of my life now. It's not anything to put my head down for. Like I said, if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be here to talk to you, and I'm very grateful for that.
It's a medication just like, you or I may take for whatever issues, or even just health issues. Yep. If you have foot issues, cardiac issues, whatever it may be, you might need medication for it that you have to take to survive, that you have to take to be okay. That's what that is. She has to take her Suboxone to survive, and that is what it is. It's a chronic illness that it's not something that's going to go away. It's not something that is going to get treated and be able to get better, just like you said, just like diabetes, or any heart issues, anything else you may have, high blood pressure, anything. You're not just healed. Right? You're not just magically better. You don't just stop using and, oh, I'm all done. That's not really how it works. I remember when she first got on Suboxone for a long time, and I want to, blame it on being young and naive, but I, for a long time, called it her synthetic heroin. I didn't think she was sober. I didn't view it as sobriety. And, after a lot, I've been educated and been doing my own research and things like that, and I am very grateful that she stuck by it, that she, despite all of us, most of us, I think my mom was the only one, my mom and my grandma were the only ones that were really supportive of her, without a doubt, always. We all were hard on her for a long time. But I think I'm so grateful for her to have been able to stick through it and stay on it, because I wouldn't have my sister. My daughter wouldn't have her aunt, I wouldn't have my great sister that I have.
when I went to the inpatient program, they had put me on Suboxone to, I guess to get the cravings and, you know, try to like a maintenance program. So I did that and it's been working. I mean, I wasn't too really enthused about it because I never had at least I want to believe that I never had a heroin addiction or a heroin problem because I sold countless of heroin. I mean, I indulged here and there, but wasn't nothing like I was selling stuff out my house to get a bag of dope or, you know, doing anything just to get high, you know? So I really never looked at it as having a problem, you know, until you start looking back and going to meetings and noticing that maybe you didn't have a problem, but the family that I'm around has a problem with it. Everybody has their opinions. You can say, well, you cheating. What am I cheating? Am I cheating myself from a good life or from a bad life? You know, I could work now. You know, I couldn't stand for 2 hours straight, 3 hours straight. Now I'm doing 5 to 5 in the morning, standing up on my feet. So, you know, that's what Suboxone does for me. So that's what you gotta look at. You might be right, but what am I cheating? Am I cheating death? Because that next bag of dope could be the last bag of dope. You know, and that's what stays in my mind. Every day, that's what's gonna always stay on my mind. That last bag of dope gonna be the last bag of dope. And I've been through so much to let a bag of dope kill me.
I ended up getting a couple of burglary charges and ended up being incarcerated for that. When I got there into the jail, they know me quite well. The nurses and stuff do. They know I'm a heroin user, and they try to get me some help as quickly as possible with the buprenorphine, the Suboxone. So usually within 2 days, I'm on the Suboxone and feeling better. You know, it helps you to feel better. Your mind is not thinking about crazy things while you're in there. It really sets you on a path that helps you. You know what I mean? Then while you're in there, you're thinking about things that you can be doing to better yourself instead of like always thinking about misery. Because when you're sick inside jail, it's all you can think about is being sick and getting more drugs when you get out or thing. So the Suboxone really helped with that. They let me out on a Suboxone. They sent me home with the prescription. It's really been a great help. And then having the outpatient set up and the doctor and in the community, it just has something to go outside to. Like when I wasn't on Suboxone and I was coming out of jail, I would go straight to the dealers, or I'd go straight to commit a crime and then go to the dealers. Like I never could stay sober getting out of jail when I wasn't on MAT. With the Suboxone, it helps me not to think about that kind of stuff and just concentrate on what I gotta do to get through the day. And I don't even think about the Suboxone during the day, you know what I mean? I don't wake up thinking, oh my God, I gotta have it. It's like an afterthought, just like another medication that I have to take. You know what I mean? It doesn't. My children's father used to be very he didn't want me to be on the Suboxone. He thought the same thing. He thought it's just another drug you're addicted to. But then he realized, when I'm on it, I'm getting a job and I'm working a job and I'm a mom again and I'm doing things with the kids and I'm actually holding down an apartment and going to school, and I got my degree in human services. I got my KSAT. I did all this great stuff while I was on Suboxone. And I was attending meetings and everything. And he came to the realization that it wasn't just something that another drug to get high off of. And he realized that I wasn't getting high off of it. It stabilized me and made me into somebody that was normal and able to live like normal people.
Individuals who are being released from incarceration, who have been on Suboxone, in the prison system need to get on Suboxone outside, so there is not a lag. So they're going back. So they're going into withdrawal. Because when you go into withdrawal, you want to use to stop the illness, to not hurt anymore.
The biggest part of it is the discharge planning. Project SafePoint is a partner of ours. This program is not going to be as successful as it can be if you don't have the discharge planning. And a plan in place, obviously, it helps the individual who's getting out, who has a lot of other things to worry about. Do I have a place to live? I'm 3 months behind on my rent. I don't know where I'm gonna live. I gotta get a job. All of those things can be a stressor to these individuals. The last thing they need is worrying about not having a script. Am I gonna use again? We also provide everyone with a Narcan kit when they leave, in case they use when they leave.
If your family member is dealing with addiction and you have the ability to keep them alive by using Suboxone or buprenorphine or whatever form we use, wouldn't you want to keep your family member alive? To heck with stigma. To heck with stigma. It's all over. We need to get past that so the overdoses stop. Because I'd rather have my family member alive and on Suboxone than worried what somebody is going to say next door because my family member has to go to a doctor's appointment to get their Suboxone. Simple.
I love being here. I think this is probably some of the most meaningful work I've ever done in my career, and I've been an inmate myself. I'm in recovery from substance abuse myself, so I deeply understand the need for these services in people's lives in this moment in their lives.
It just feels good to be able to be a part of my family again.
Medication for addiction treatment is more than a program. It's a lifeline. By providing access to proven treatments like methadone, buprenorphine, and naltrexone, we can save lives, reunite families, and give individuals the opportunity to reclaim their futures.